The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode.
It's the summer of 93 at 30.
Welcome back to the Brandon Peters Show and the final piece of the summer of 93 at 30. And as always, it's been 2 of these Summer of series, but as always, to help me bring the curtain down, the soundtrack to the summer of 93 at 30, Pres Maxson.
Yo, Brandon Peters, thank you for having me back. It's a pleasure to be back on the BPS to close things out.
Yep, Christmas time and the end of summer. That's our holiday time and the end of summer. That's
right. No, that's my cadence.
That's when you come around.
That's my cadence.
So for those of you who might only, if you didn't listen to the summer of 82 at 40 or 93 at 30 is your first one, Pres has done the theme song for it. The summer of 93 at 30, and then he did the Proclaimers, the news theme for it. So thank you as always, Pres, for that. So that's where
thank you. So proud to be involved with that stuff, and glad. I mean, honestly, you have a warm fan base that every now and then I get tagged on Twitter or something with somebody telling me that it's stuck in their head. So I'm here for it.
Love it. Also, and you're also an accomplished author, as we know.
It's true.
Too.
Yes, thanks.
Any new stuff in the pipeline, or
new stuff in the pipeline? But if anybody is headed to the beach or has one more vacation in them left in the summer or a fall break coming up, I think I would recommend my most recent release called Bastards of the Revolution, a novel about a modern day historian who finds the diary of a woman who claims she banged every founding father. So check that out if you're so inclined.
Yeah, that one you got a lot of press for that one that I saw when that came out.
I've had a little luck. I've had a little luck. Yeah. In that regard.
It's a great concept. Like, oh yeah, this is good. So 1993. Where was Lil Pres Maxson at in 1993?
Yeah. Fun fact, I think I was the same height in 1993 as I am now, and that's not a joke. Like I growth spurted early. I was in the 8th grade, and a couple highlights that year when I think back to it, I was playing baseball very happily. I sold magazines through my junior high, and I won the opportunity to spin a cash prize wheel. It was kind of like the Wheel of Fortune. There were little slots all along the way, and there was only one tiny sliver slot for $50, and the rest were like 1s and 2s and 5s, and I won the 50. So I kept that $50 bill for a long time.
You blew up the Death Star. That's what you did.
Yeah, exactly. I blew up the Death Star. I just inhalation shaft or something right to the core. That year, I mean, that was a big year. I remember really enjoying 8th grade and feeling like that was the year. I mean, don't get heavy on anybody, but that was kind of the year I stopped getting bullied. It was like the kids in our class were starting to be less primitive and start to kind of appreciate each other's talents. So I very specifically remember that year. That was the first year I ever played music in front of a big audience, like as like a rock and roller, not in the school band or something. My 2 buddies and I, we did a Nirvana song at an all school assembly, and people that had like been mean to me legitimately, like later, they were like, that was the coolest thing we've ever seen. And I was like, wow, I thought you hated me. Like there was a turning of the tide that year.
I remember not wanting had that sort of thing.
Yeah, I remember not wanting to go to high school, thinking 8th grade was like, this is awesome. And of course, once I got to high school, I realized that was awesome too. But
there you go. All right. So
so you probably said it before and I missed it on the podcast. Where were you in 93? We're the same age, right?
Yeah, well, I was 11. What grade is that?
Oh, we're not. Sorry, I'm older. Okay.
Yeah. I was 11. So I don't know what grade I was flipping over to, but middle school, it was all right. for me.
Yeah.
High school. You say you did something. You played a song people thought you were cool. So like jumping ahead to high school, I like made movies and stuff with my
Oh, that's
camcorder and
cool.
things, and they sometimes they show them in the school, and I
Oh,
never got like that was cool. That was that. I was just like silence or just like
yeah.
weird.
Well,
It
I
wasn't
did
it
a lot
wasn't
of golf,
culturally
so
acceptable. I've said many times this podcast that kind of stuff was not culturally acceptable. I was ahead of my time. I missed my window because the people are like, "Oh, this is what all the kids do now. It's cool. Yeah, you do it with your phone now. You make everything like
right.
nope, nope, nope."
Yeah. Well,
I was primitive in there, but so Press, every person here does the music video episode has been asked about the movies on Monday. You've got a unique situation, and you're getting the dump that was the final week of the summer of '93, the Labor Day weekend one with two movies I did like, two movies, one movie abysmal and one was meh. So, uh, the Son of the Pink Panther with
with
Roberto Benigni as Junior
that's
Clouseau.
Clouseau. Wow. Okay. I'll tell you, I actually never saw that. I am a big fan of the original Pink
Okay.
Panthers. My favorite of those being Pink Panther Strikes Again, but that was like
Okay.
what, 67 or
Yeah.
68 or something. Just my guess.
See,
So I never saw. I didn't even. I'm thinking back. I remember the remakes with Steve Martin.
mhm.
I don't think. I
This
don't
was
think I realized.
1993. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Well, it's funny story though. Not to repeat myself from the Monday episode, but I was a blind spot for me. So for this show, I went back and watched every Pink Panther movie because I when I was a kid, I'd turn them on. There'd be that cool cartoon, and then like
Yeah.
it'd be real people, and I'd be like, "The hell's this?" Turn it off.
Mhm.
And then I remember the Pink Panther. He sold carpet too. Like there was a carpet company that used the Pink Panther,
Yes.
or like padding, the lining or something. They
Yes.
used. But I watched them all. I liked Shot in the Dark is a great film. I liked that one a lot. The second
Yeah.
one, and then I think Strikes Again was one of the ones. There was some bad stuff in there too. Like
Well,
a little.
Strikes Again is hot and cold, but
Mhm.
before I know this is more about 1993, and what I'm about to say is not about 1993, but
Yeah.
Strikes Again is the one that opens up with the former chief inspector
Mhm.
in the loony bin, and he's
Mm.
like rehab,
Yeah.
and then Clouseau shows up, and he immediately reverts and becomes like an evil genius. And it's not that that's like a top-down hilarious movie, but we used to watch this with my dad, and we'd laugh so hard, half because it was funny,
Mhm.
but half because my dad could not contain himself. My dad would start laughing until he was crying. And if you know my dad, that's not normal behavior.
Oh, that's
But
funny.
when Clouseau and Kato have the fight in the apartment, and Kato puts his like staff, his combat staff, like through the television, my
Mm.
dad, it's all for my dad.
That's
So
good.
yeah.
That's good. Okay.
Okay, so what are the other two movies from
The
that
three
weekend?
movies. So we have Calendar Girl starring Jason Priestley.
Okay,
Him
I don't know that at all.
and
Okay.
his two buddies. It's in the like 50s, and him and his two buddies, one or maybe it's the 60s. One played by Jerry O'Connell, decide, oh, we're gonna go out and meet Marilyn Monroe. That's
Interesting.
yeah, not good. California with a K. It's the Brad Pitt, David Duchovny. It's a serial killer movie where Brad Pitt plays this hillbilly serial killer. Juliette Lewis is his girlfriend. This is not Natural Born Killers, but
Was it good?
it's interesting. I think it's stylistically good. I think a lot of people overvalue it, but
Hmm.
it's got some
I've
good
never
style
seen that
stuff.
one either. I'm really
Uh,
failing. I don't never
no,
saw that
you're
one.
fine. And the last one, Fortress, starring Christopher Lambert
Oh my
and
God, I don't even
Kurtwood Smith.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm failing. I think my biggest takeaway from this thing is that David Duchovny is just in a lot of productions that have the word California and some clever little twist on the word California, whether it be California with a K or Californication. That's all I've come away with here.
That works. Ex-California Files. Something like that.
Yes. No, that's one I remember.
Return
well.
to
Yeah.
Me in
No.
California. So there we go. All right. So
Yeah,
we're gonna talk about and this is one of the biggest artists of all time, never talked about in this show. We're gonna talk about Will You Be There? Parentheses theme from Free Willy. The eighth single from Michael Jackson's eighth album, Dangerous. This was that era, the black or white, Remember the Time, Jam, In the Closet, Heal the World. But it's most known. This song is most known as the signature song for the soundtrack to the film Free Willy. It peaked at number 7 on the Hot 100, went platinum on its own, selling 1 million copies. Now, Pres, we'll get back to the song in a sec. Dangerous. Let's talk the Dangerous era of Michael Jackson. Do you think this is one of the, it's weird to say this, but like one of the more underappreciated albums in his conversation? Because critic and publication wise circle and since like they appreciate it, but like I feel in the general populist conversation, like people like talk high about Thriller and Bad and then maybe Off the Wall, but I feel like Dangerous, they don't really talk about it as an album or like as good, when I think it definitely like lives up to those. Like I feel like there's a big 3 he's got going there,
yeah,
and I think Dangerous is right there with them. But what's your opinion on that?
yeah. Here are my thoughts on Dangerous. I remember it as being kind of an epic thing. I was finally of the age to be much more into pop music. I mean,
Yeah.
I was ignoring a lot of pop music when I was in elementary school because I loved the Beatles, and that's
Mm.
all that mattered to me. I really didn't care about anything else. But when I was in 8th grade and Dangerous came along, they actually brought a screen into our lunchroom and showed the black and white music video, with all the transformation
Right.
happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember thinking, this is really cool. I've never seen this before. And it melted my mind on how they did it. I didn't understand how they did it. So in retrospect, I look back and I think, okay, we're sort of out of the era of classic Michael Jackson. There's a lot of solid songs on Dangerous. I mean, just gorgeous melodies, like killer grooves, but I don't feel like I hear some of that early Michael vibe that just makes you dance. I mean, when you hear like, um, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough and stuff, like you almost can't help but move to that, or Billie Jean or something. But when you hear something from Dangerous, it's a little bit, I don't know if produced is more the right word. It's definitely a little bit of a different sound. Melodies are
Yeah.
strong, chord progressions are strong, like musically it hangs together. But for me, it just doesn't have like the swagger. But at the time, I remember being like this guy is the biggest thing in the world. He's only keeps getting bigger. Dangerous
Yeah.
felt bigger for some reason.
Right. I think maybe it's like the Return of the Jedi to the album run with Thriller, Bad, and then this, where I agree with what you're saying there with those. They feel there's a little bit more like hip hop of that era influence, I think, going on in there. Like, yeah, Do You Remember the Time?
Definitely.
It's kind of ballady, kind of dancey, but I'm not sure it's like you'd see a hall of people dancing to it, even though the video's got a lot of the Egyptian theme with Magic Johnson and Arsenio Hall stuff dancing. But
You know what it makes me think of? It's kind of like, I think your analogy to Return of the Jedi, or your parallel to Return of the Jedi, is sort of a nice one, because for the first 2 movies there, just like call it Thriller and Bad, you feel like as an artist, Michael had something to prove still in those
yes,
earlier albums. You're fighting to like get on top. You're still fresh. By the time you get to Dangerous, by the time you get to Return of the Jedi, everyone thinks you're a legend already.
yeah,
And now the weight is there to create something that continues your legacy. You're not scrappy and fighting anymore. Now you have a bigger budget, you have way more resources, but you still have to prove you're that creative self, and you can do something on par with these other things. That's how it feels to me. I know I'm projecting here. I have no clue what was happening behind the scenes, but that is what this album feels like to me for Michael.
yeah, definitely. Like, and then his next one, he he'd package it together with the greatest hits with History, the one that had
Right.
Scream and stuff. So it's hard to judge. Like that one got overshadowed by a
Right.
legacy, like kind of celebrating a legacy. And here's new songs as well. But that one had some solid stuff as well. It was okay.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Boy, I almost
Dangerous.
forgot about his.
Dangerous was a huge moment, even if it's not bad or thriller. It's still like, yeah. I mean, it's one of the best selling albums of all time. Like 32 million copies, eight times platinum. Like it's insane.
The
Yeah,
world tour was like massive, was it not?
yeah.
Like, I recall, like that was like,
I think when you
I don't,
see,
I don't want to speak out of turn, but I feel like that was the first mega world tour of Michael's that I'd ever heard of.
yeah,
I don't
that's the
know if
one
that
whenever you see people like at a concert, like crying, watching him, it's usually, I think it's the Dangerous tour is where
Right.
that's coming from. You're like, oh my God, Michael.
Right.
And he's like, Diana, oh, tears. But
Yeah.
yeah, like, and there's, this Dangerous era is crazy. So the song, Will You Be There, was originally, it's on the album. It's longer on the album. It's got an interlude. It's got a prelude and like some little interlude that they snipped out for the single version. But it's the longest song in Michael's discography at 7 minutes 41 seconds.
Well, here's a funny anecdote. I think the first I really became aware of the song. I mean, I saw Free Willy and everything. That was like important. But my 8th grade choir, I'm pretty sure we did the song. And I think if I wasn't playing piano for it, I was definitely singing it in the choir. I don't really remember. But years later, I'm not like a DJ or anything, but I'm dangerous enough and know my way around a playlist, know my way around sound equipment enough to have DJ'd several of my friends' weddings.
Yeah.
They know they can get me really cheap, and they know that I'm going to just play like their favorite stuff. And they almost always say, sure, take requests, but never at the like expense of one of our must plays. Like they would always give me, I always asked for a must playlist and a do not playlist. And the must playlist almost covered the whole evening, almost, So the very first wedding I did for like this one circle of friends that I played several weddings for, a guy comes up to me, he's like, need to hear Will You Be There by Michael Jackson. And my knee-jerk reaction was like, dude, not a chance. Like it's not on their don't playlist. But like I was like, I was like, it's not anywhere close to their must playlist. Like this was a couple that had like pretty much no Michael on their list at all. Yeah. And I was like, and if you're gonna do like at a wedding, if you're gonna like do something that the bride and groom hasn't asked for, like you got to be pretty sure it's gonna like wail. So it's like if I'm gonna do any Michael, we're doing Billie Jean, And this guy was like, no, I'm telling you, this room will explode if you do Will You Be There. And I was like, get out of here. And like 5 minutes later, another guy comes up and's like, hey man, do you have Will You Be There by Michael Jackson? And I was like, what? I was
How
like,
much did that guy pay you?
And it turns out they've all decided they want it, and they're all coming one by one. So I was ultra wrong. I hit play on this thing, and the guy was right. The room explodes.
Oh my gosh.
They're just like, they're singing to the whole thing.
Oh my God.
And I played a wedding again, like years later, for the same circle of friends. And same exact thing happened, except this time when the first guy asked, I said, look, I was like, it's going to take a lot more than one of you requesting it. I was like, I know what happens, but like, I was like, it's going to take like at least 10 people in here. And like, they had it within minutes.
Oh
they had the 10 within minutes, but it, in retrospect.
What's the backstory on this? Like,
I wish I knew.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I wish I knew. But this crowd loved it. I mean, it like room turned to 11 when that happened.
That's a weird
and because of that though, it's like I've given the song a chance way more than I ever would have. But bold claim here, and we can talk about it. When I rewatched the music video for the first time since '93, before this Zoom call earlier in the day, it made me it made me dislike the song more. And we can talk about it. But I will forever relate this song with those weddings, obviously.
Not Free Willy. No Free Willy. That is why, because like if you said, I will give you 10 guesses and a bonus guess as to what Michael Jackson song they kept coming up, I would have forgot this one existed. Like I would never have. I'd be okay. Billie Jean, no. Beat It, no. Thriller, nope. Bad, nope. Dirty Diana, nope. Smooth Criminal, nope.
Right.
The Way You Make Me Feel, nope.
Well, that's the banger.
Rock
That's
With
a
You,
banger.
nope. Don't Stop Till You Get, nope. Still going. Remember the Time, nope. Black or White, nope. Scream, nope. Like I would never have got to this.
Heal the World would have come up before this.
Man in the Mirror.
Heal the World would have come up before this, man.
Like
Man in the Mirror is such a jam.
Like I would have like Pretty Young Thing, like PYT, like they're starting something like what?
Oh, PYT is a jam too.
Okay. So all right, that's crazy. So
anyway.
Yeah, so the idea for Free Willy was to do a new song, but there wasn't time because they did a test screening of Free Willy. It did really well. They got to bump up their music budget. One time they got Michael, but one time, so music executive Jerry L. Greenberg suggested this song. And then through all this stuff, Michael Jackson got hit with a copyright infringement lawsuit from the Cleveland Orchestra for using Beethoven's Symphony No. 9 as a prelude on the album version. It got settled out of court. And then an Italian songwriter Albano Carisi said it copied his songs, The Swans of Balaka, and a court favored Carisi because Michael Jackson didn't show up for the case, but then they did a follow-up case months later and favored Michael Jackson, as both songs sounded similar because they may have been inspired by the Ink Spots 1939 song Bless You for Being an Angel. This music video we're about to talk about also won the 1994 MTV Movie Award for Best Song from a Movie. So this music video is directed by Vince Paterson. So he also, in his directing work, had directed Blood on the Dance Floor for Michael Jackson, and this In Search of Dr. Seuss TV movie, which starred Matt Frewer as the Cat in the Hat, but also starred Kathy Najimy, Christopher Lloyd, David Paymer, Andrea Martin, Patrick Stewart, and Billy Crystal. I never saw this thing, but now I'm curious. He appeared in
that's an interesting.
Yeah. He appeared in the videos for Beat It, Thriller, and Weird Al's Eat It. And that's because this guy's a big choreographer. So I'm about to just all-star here. He was the choreographer for Thriller, Van Halen's Hot for Teacher, the movie Mannequin, the Michael Jackson videos for The Way You Make Me Feel, Smooth Criminal, Moonwalker. He also did the choreography for Madonna's Express Yourself and her 1990 Blonde Ambition tour, Truth or Dare, the movie Hook, The Birdcage, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Closer, and The World Is Not Enough's teaser trailer. Don't know
so wait, this is you're
the director of the video. Yeah, this is the director of the video. Body of work, crazy.
Crazy body of work, no disrespect, except this is going to sound disrespectful. Yeah. I'm wondering what the straight up F he actually directed in the music video.
I'm guessing it's Michael Jackson's concert footage. Like, I'm betting he was choreography for his tour. And that's why they're like, well, let's give it to him because we're not going to credit the director of Free Willy with this music video. So that's my guess.
Okay. Because this music video is, in my opinion, a lazy music video. One of the laziest, where you just hand a guy in an edit bay, say, hey, here's the movie Free Willy. Here's a Michael Jackson concert. All you have to do is jigsaw puzzle little clips together.
Yep.
We'll see you in 2 days.
Yeah, like, no, it is the weakest of soundtrack videos. that you'll ever see.
Yeah.
It's footage. They
True.
might even have added whale stock footage that's not in Free Willy in here just to kill time.
It feels like it.
Yeah, it's got Michael Jackson performing in concert. I got cracked up when there are some edits and stuff where they try to match things Michael's doing on stage at a totally unrelated concert to parts
Yes.
from the movie, like hand motions and like whale jumps and Michael coming back like with his arms out. And then when the
Yeah.
kids like doing this and they show Michael on stage like doing stuff, I thought that was pretty funny. It's a garbage music video. There's not like we have nothing to talk about this music video. Like it is
I
literally
mean, here's what we can talk about. Because I
Okay.
agree. It just, to me, it feels like, hey, we need a music video. Like when you said that it won the MTV Music Award for Song of the Year, right?
A
For a song
song
from a
from a
movie.
movie, not music
Right.
video. And it was the
Right.
movie
I
awards,
thought you were
not
going to
music
say
video.
that. I
Okay.
thought you were going to say that, and I was about to throw this chair through that window. I was like, what a sorry excuse for a music video. It just feels like this is one of those things where the marketing department says, hey, we really need a music video. And like, what's the fast way we can do it?
Well, they are like legit done promoting Dangerous at this point. Like that, this is the 8th single. There was a 9th single, and I think it was only released in one country, and I don't think they did a video for it. But like, yeah, this is the 8th single, and it's like 5 or 6 months after the previous single. So that marketing push was done. Like, and 8 singles, even for 1993, is a lot. That's a lot. So this was primarily selling Free Willy soundtracks. Because if you hadn't bought Dangerous by now, this song wasn't getting you to buy it. Like you're gonna buy the Free Willy soundtrack.
Right. I know that, I know Michael's a polarizing guy, and I am not here to defend him or accuse him. And I've also not shared my personal opinion on the matter. Of his reputation. I mean, because I also think about other artists who I really love, Picasso, Hemingway. There's plenty of evidence that these guys were like not like nice people, not loving, caring people.
H.P. Lovecraft, there's tons of them. Yeah.
Oh, tons of them. So I'm not prepared to really go into the discussion of Michael's legacy and stuff. I will say that though, in retrospect of what Michael went through late in life and of what his accusers have like kind of brought into the public discussion after his death, there were moments watching this music video where it's starring a boy, like a early teenager or a late almost teen. And it's about love and support for one another and stuff. And I gotta say that I noticed it. And like I said, I'm not sharing my opinion on things, but I just thought how even in Michael's weakest music video moment, now somebody who was not really too much of a fan during his lifetime, like I go there because of what has happened. Like it was hard not to notice. I think that's the only thing that like the only kind of topic, because like you said, we have nothing really to talk about in the composition of the video itself. There's no story being told. There's no like real artistry there other than in the edit, like you said, of like some clever little editing Easter eggs, but I will say I watched it and I could not help it, but my mind could not help to go to that story being told about Michael.
Yeah, with Michael, like I was a fan back in the day. Like he was just larger than life and like he made banging songs and stuff like that. But like I'm able to still enjoy the music. And it's, that's each individual's way they have to deal with things.
Yeah.
With someone can acknowledge that like he did that stuff, but I still enjoy them. It's a lot. Like everybody's gonna have to deal with things with an artist differently, and that's up to somebody else. You can't because you feel that way about someone you've never met, and people that like everybody's gonna be different, and you have to allow people to have that kind of different when it comes to things like this with artists and things. When you get to world leaders and stuff, I think there's a bit of a different realm of
It's a bit of a
acceptability.
different measuring stick.
But yeah, so that's someone's own way they have to like deal with that stuff. And like with Michael too, there's a difference because Michael wasn't a like singer songwriter; he was a production. Like you have like I always talk about
Right.
Thriller. That is like people making a movie right there. There's Quincy Jones, there's Eddie Van Halen in there. They're all everybody's work, so their work's there
John
too.
Lando, yeah.
Yeah. There's so many people's work on it. Like a Beyonce is the same thing. She's a production of like she does write. I mean, they do have writing credits, but they're more about what's the next show we put on for you and put it together, as opposed to somebody like
their medium
like a
isn't
Beck or
just
somebody.
music.
Yeah,
Right. Their medium isn't just the music. Yeah,
it's entertainment, or like it's not a Beck or a Taylor Swift type person to throw it to the kids, but they what they like it where
I would argue Taylor's getting close.
Taylor's getting close.
Beck is a good example.
Yeah, your Beck, a lot of your bands, things like that, like it's a production. It's like I was talking about earlier in this, like Dr. Dre. Like to bring full circle of this summer music video discussions that have gone on. Like I see Dr. Dre through this. I saw this light with him where I'm like, I'm sure he has some sort of ego, but he's not afraid to shine the spotlight. He's about the production, like his early hits. Snoop Dogg leads off, and he's showcasing that guy, not himself, in his own music. And it's because The Chronic, his album to him, is a production. Like it's this thing called The Chronic, and it is what it is, whether I'm here or there or whatever. I'm putting it together. I act and star in this picture, but there are these other people, and I feel like he treats his stuff like a big production, and you're supposed to enjoy it as a whole, and the individual songs are productions, and he doesn't need to be the star of them. He just wants to be the director of said things. So like I feel like with Michael like that, it's like, oh, what's the new Tom Cruise movie would be like the new Michael Jackson album. Like there's Tom Cruise is in the movie, but Tom Cruise is also hired a director. Like Michael's not an idiot. He's helping produce, like he's picking the people to work with and assembling a team, but the team puts work together too. Like I think a lot of people, when they dismiss a lot of these art, don't realize you're one person you're getting crappy about. You're dismissing thousands when you want to like turn your nose up, or I get some people might be hard, but some other people may be able to sit through it where you can't. But there's other people who put in good work. What if someone's the best costuming design they ever worked on, they're most proud of, is in a Kevin Spacey movie? Like what if,
Right.
So yeah.
You know what I think is interesting about Michael? I like what you said. He's transcended the role of just singer-songwriter. I think he was one of those artists, though. Like you're talking about a whole team of people. I totally agree. But I think he's one of those artists with a like CEO level personality,
right,
and a CEO level like of leadership.
Yeah.
Like, and so here's my Hollywood story for the day.
All right.
For people who've never heard me on this podcast before, you don't know that Brandon and I lived in LA
at the same time and never
at the same time
went to the same places. Like
who knows? Maybe we did. Maybe we met somewhere along the line.
We might have been that. What was that little
room.
place on Melrose that people played shows at a lot? I went to a lot there. Was that?
There's at least a couple that I remember. There was
like really black. I remember the Gig. Was it the Gig?
Gig on Melrose. We played at.
That was it. That was it. Yep. I went to plenty of shows there.
Maybe we were in the same room once. Well, anyway, I have a friend who worked at Ocean Way Studios and worked for the producer Jack Joseph Puig, who's like pretty famous and known more for being like the fixer producer than the first producer. But this friend of mine was, at the time, I think his title would have just been like engineer, just sitting at the board and doing what people told him. He's my age, which meant at this time he's 24, 25, somewhere like that. and Michael was in there, I don't know doing what, but he tells the story that Michael had basically recorded an entire album in his own studio at his house, and would then bring, I mean, he'd get the demos perfect. Then he'd come to an actual studio and he'd re-record the entire thing, pretty much note for note what he had already done at home, but where appropriate, used real horns or real drums instead of synths, like that kind of stuff. But by the time he got in the studio, Michael already had like the level of understanding of the music that he knew exactly what he wanted. He was the unquestioned boss. And my friend tells a story of him going in the vocal booth and just saying like, okay, I'm going to do a take of just the breath on like this one section. So he said he'd stand there and he'd literally do something like 30 times. And it was just like, to the point where everyone's just sitting there watching, going like, what is he doing? He's been doing it for like a minute and a half. And then finally he'd like stop. He'd be like, that was the one. That last one was the one. That's the one we'll use. Okay, let's move on. And you're just like,
that particular, dang.
Yeah, that orchestrated, that particular. So I don't think you get that like level of kind of production IQ and level of particular taste very often. I think there's something to be said for just going in and feeling the moment with your band and whipping it out. But I do think it takes a special talent and a different kind of talent to have that level of precision and that level of attention to every single like moment of your record.
Well, I mean, there's like overdoing it too, like Axl Rose. You remember the Chinese Democracy?
Yeah. Well, I mean, as a musical artist, I know that there are times when I can overthink it, for sure. But I mean, I'm not Michael Jackson by far, and I'm not even an Axl Rose. There's a lot Axl Rose does that's really impressive. I can't say I'm like a huge fan anymore, but I also can't. I'm not here to discredit what he has done and like what he can do. He's a creative thinker and a good singer, and like I know where my limit is. I know I would be overthinking too fast, and I'm not sitting here and saying like I'm not ready to accuse Michael of overthinking anything when he like turns out like you just yourself single-handedly listed amazing songs.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna say any of that was overthought. They were gorgeous. So anyway, yeah, that's my Michael story. That's not even mine. It's handed down from my buddy who was in the booth for that, and that guy actually lives in Indiana now. Lives over here in Carmel. So
gotcha. Michael once lived here too in Indiana.
Once, yes.
Once.
He also bought the car for Ryan White up in Cicero over here.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, actually, I heard this also on fairly good authority that when Ryan White died, big public funeral up in Cicero, and Michael flew in for it with Donald Trump, because Michael's playing at the Taj Mahal in New Jersey, and when Ryan White died, and so Trump brought him in on his plane with him, and they traveled together to the funeral. Is what is going to sound crazy, but is what Ryan White's mom told me when I met her.
Yeah, because if you like. Because like we have the Indianapolis Children's Museum, we have an exhibit, The Power of Children, and there's a Ryan White exhibit there, and his mother is usually there daily.
It's like she doesn't live in town anymore, but it's like she's in once a month or something.
Oh, yeah,
and she just sets up a card table. Yeah, she sets up a card table, puts out her photo albums, and will talk to anybody about anything. She'll tell you how many celebrities sat at her kitchen table, or she'll tell you the trials and tribulations of being a wife and a mom whose child has AIDS, which is crazy.
Yeah, because when I first moved back here, I auditioned for a part at the Children's Museum.
Oh wow!
Through an opening, and they told us about like, okay, so his mom is here all the time.
Yeah.
Like she's here a lot. Probably talk to her, like if you're going to be playing Ryan White in our little thing, she gives you tips and stuff like that. She's really kind about everybody, but she can be particular about things. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, it's her son. So yeah.
Wow.
But that was,
well, if you drive by the house in Cicero, it looks exactly the way it did when Michael Jackson walked up that front walk and through the threshold, and looks exactly the way it did when they parked that Mustang that Michael bought for Ryan White right on the front lawn as sort of a tribute to Ryan when he died, and people put flowers all over it and everything. So the Michael Jackson Indiana ties are strong. And
so this is this is crazy because like I would say with Michael, there's a point where, well, I mean, 3 biggest like solo acts of all time, you'd be like, what, Elvis, Michael, and Madonna? Like at one point that was like Brooks, that was but at this time too, and to wrap it up, bring it back, Janet Jackson was blowing up this summer. This was the Janet album, and she had 2 hit songs that we talked about already in the summer of 93 at 30. So this was her year of coming out on her own, not being in the shadow of things, and she would go on probably to equal or more success at this point of Michael. Well, he'd have History next, and then he wouldn't have another one till his final album, Butterflies, in the early 2000s. So
yeah.
All right. But that'll wrap us up here for the entire summer of 93 at 30. And Pres, thank you so much again for your tunes and being here. And your enthusiasm and your friendship means a lot to me.
Oh, dude, your friendship and enthusiasm means a lot to me. I love being a part of this, and I sort of love this thing that we've gotten into with closing out the seasons.
Yes.
Like it means a lot to, it's kind of, I like being a small part of each one, but I love when I get the invite, so I can't say thank you enough. I would also just like to plug one last thing. I'll be back this Christmas when Brandon and I talk this holiday season. When Brandon and I dissect the Folgers coffee commercial, Brother and Sister Meet at Christmas.
Oh boy. Okay. Is it a series of commercials or just one?
It is actually a series of commercials.
Because I know Folgers would make soap operas out of their commercials. Because when they're one with like some couple like kept missing each other or something, or they had one with a couple that was like a huge deal. All right.
Well, what I'm looking forward to talking about this Christmas is that it's like a legacy of commercials, and like the one that I remember as being like really epic.
Mm-hmm.
It could not have existed without the legacy that built up to it a little bit.
Okay.
And that's what we're gonna discuss that.
All right, we're doing it. 1000%. Okay. So next summer, Pres is back for 2004 at 20. We already talked that before we got on the air. So he's gonna have some more jams for us. And but until then, where can people keep up with you and find your books that are so wonderful?
Yeah, thank you for asking. You can follow me on Instagram at Pres Maxson. On Facebook, find me Pres Maxson, PresMaxson, and of course you can buy my books on Amazon. It's probably the best place, and they are priced to move right now, so there is not a better time to find a book by Pres Maxson to read.
All right. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Brandon4KHD, written work at whysoblue.com. I'm taking a week off. And when I return, Sabina Graves joins me again so we can reflect on the current summer we just finished of movies 2023 and look at our predictions, thoughts, and stuff, full aftermath. But till then, stay phone positive.
It's the summer of 93 at 30.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. The Summer of and News Themes by Pres Maxson. Additional information on this and other episodes at thebrandonpetersshow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at thebrandonpetersshow.com. The show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.